Introduction to Renewable Energy. In this video lesson, we will introduce the differences between renewable and non-renewable energies, discuss how the United States uses these energy sources, and consider the advantages and disadvantages necessary to conduct a cost-benefit analysis of the various energy sources. What are renewable energies? They are energy generated from resources that can be used over and over again. These resources are naturally replenished on a human timescale or in a human lifetime. What are non-renewable energies? They are energy generated from finite resources that can only be used once. These finite resources are called fossil fuels, which are plants and animals that take millions of years to decompose. Extracting, processing, distributing, and burning fossil fuels have negative consequences to human and environmental health. Such consequences include emitting large amounts of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Coal can produce up to 229 pounds of carbon dioxide per million British thermal units. Petroleum or oil can produce 157 pounds of carbon dioxide per million British thermal units. And natural gas can produce 117 pounds of carbon dioxide per million British thermal units. Fossil fuels are a primary source of energy in the United States and other countries around the world. In 2019, the total amount of electricity generated in the United States from oil and coal was 982 billion kilowatt hours, and from natural gas was 1,582 billion kilowatt hours. Some advantages for using non-renewable energy sources are: they are plentiful and they are not expected to run out within the next few decades. They are inexpensive because government provides incentives and subsidies to encourage their use. They are reliable because they're always available to meet the baseload energy demand. They are easy to use because electricity, heating, and transportation infrastructures are designed for fossil fuels. Some disadvantages for using non-renewable energy sources are: fossil fuel extraction is a dangerous job because of how difficult it is to remove these resources from the earth. The process of extracting fossil fuels destroys surface and underground environments. Global politics are influenced by fossil fuel prices, which can lead to wars and increase military defense to protect fossil fuel resources in other countries. Extracting fossil fuels often leads to leaks, spills, and other forms of irreversible habitat destruction. They greatly contribute to groundwater contamination. Fossil fuel power plants use over 200 billion gallons of water each day. They greatly contribute to air pollution from particulates, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and mercury. They can accelerate global climate change because greenhouse gases emitted from burning fossil fuels enhance the greenhouse effect, throwing Earth's energy budget off balance. Because non-renewable energies have such major consequences, many nations are slowly moving towards using renewable energies. Hydroelectric power is an example of a renewable energy source. Hydroelectricity is a process of producing electricity using the movement of falling or flowing water. The movement of water is used to turn underwater turbine blades to produce electricity. The most common form of hydroelectric power plants are hydroelectric dams. Some renewable energy sources emit some carbon dioxide. However, this happens at a much smaller scale than burning fossil fuels. For example, a small hydroelectric power plant can emit 0.5 pounds of carbon dioxide per kilowatt hour. Hydroelectric power is the most commonly used renewable energy source in the world. In 2019, the total amount of electricity generated in the United States from hydroelectricity was 80 million kilowatt hours. The top 3 states generating hydroelectric power are Washington with 66 billion kilowatt hours, California with 40 billion kilowatt hours, and Oregon with 29 billion kilowatt hours. A well-known hydropower project is located between Canada and the state of New York. Niagara Falls First Station was built on the Canada side of the Niagara River in 1893. Today, the Niagara River generates almost 2 million kilowatts of electricity from 3 large power plants in Canada and 2.4 million kilowatts of electricity from 2 large power plants in the United States. Another example of renewable energy is wind power. Wind power is the process of producing electricity using wind to spin the blades of a turbine. Today's wind turbines are generators driven by the wind to produce electricity. A wind turbine consists of blades, the rotor, the nacelle, which houses the gearbox and generator, and the tower. Some renewable energies will offset or reduce greenhouse gas emissions. In 2018, electricity generated from wind avoided 200 million tons of carbon pollution. That's roughly equal to 43 million cars worth of carbon emissions. In 2019, the total amount of electricity generated in the United States from wind power was 300 billion kilowatt hours. The top 3 states generating wind power are Texas with 84 billion kilowatt hours, Oklahoma with 28 billion kilowatt hours, and Iowa with 26 billion kilowatt hours. The largest wind farm in the United States is the Alta Wind Energy Center in California, also known as the Mojave Wind Farm. It was first built in 2011 and is the 3rd largest onshore wind farm in the world. It includes 600 wind turbines, and the entire site generates 3,216,564 megawatt hours of electricity per year. Solar power is the primary source of energy on Earth. People have always used energy from the sun. The rays of sunlight that reach the Earth can be converted into other forms of energy. For example, solar radiation is absorbed by solar panels, which convert the sun's energy into electricity. The most common forms of solar power are photovoltaic systems, which convert sunlight directly into electricity, and solar thermal systems, which capture heat energy from the sun to use as thermal energy or to produce electricity. Solar power can emit up to 0.2 pounds of carbon dioxide per kilowatt hour. In 2018, the total amount of electricity generated in the United States from solar power was 98 billion kilowatt hours. The top 3 states generating solar power are California with 26 billion kilowatt hours, North Carolina with 6 billion kilowatt hours, and Arizona with 5 billion kilowatt hours. The United States' largest solar farm is Solar Star, located in California. It was first built in 2015. It includes 1.7 million solar panels spread over 3,200 acres of land. It generates 1,685,276 megawatt hours of electricity per year. Some advantages for using renewable energy sources are: they are readily available and unlimited. They're easy to use because they have low operation and maintenance costs. They can be directly connected to the power grid, or they can be directly connected to homes, businesses, or schools. They allow more freedom from relying on foreign energy sources. And in recent years, there are government incentives for installing and using renewable energies. For example, tax credits and rebates. They contribute to the overall health of humans and ecosystems because they emit little to no greenhouse gases and little to no pollutants into the air and water. They reduce emissions, which contributes to a healthier atmosphere by reducing or eliminating greenhouse gas emissions, reducing our dependence on fossil fuels, and they're not fuels that have to be transported through miles of pipelines. Some disadvantages for using renewable energy sources are: the technology is more expensive to install than fossil fuels. Renewable energies have intermittency issues, which means that they are not available 24 hours per day, 7 days per week. To help solve the intermittency problem, engineers have developed technologies to store large amounts of energy. But some of the storage technologies can be expensive, and energy is stored for a short period before the battery has to be recharged. Now that we have a basic understanding of non-renewable and renewable energies, which energy sources would you choose to power your community? One way to decide is by using a cost-benefit analysis, a process used to consider the advantages and disadvantages of your energy choices. A cost-benefit analysis will consider the internal costs of your energy choices. These are the monetary costs accepted by the consumer. For example, we use electricity, we get the utility bill, and we pay for the amount of electricity we used. A cost-benefit analysis must also consider the external costs of your energy choices. These are the negative consequences from extraction to usage. For example, when we put gas in the car, we pay money for the internal cost of the gasoline, but the external cost of the emissions from your car affecting the air quality and people's health is a consequence that all of society pays for. There are many external costs we don't consider. Some examples are increased mortality rates due to the health issues that are the direct cause of energy production, higher healthcare costs due to the health issues derived from energy production, environmental issues such as air pollution and water pollution that can impact people and the environment, human activities that contribute to climate change, and military defense costs needed to protect fossil fuel sources in other countries. When considering the true cost of energy, both internal and external costs have to be included. Using a cost-benefit analysis, which energy sources would you choose to power your community?